All right, guys, we're back again. Today we want to talk about 5 key reasons or signs you might be under eating. Now, this is super common. We would have to say that in all our years of working together and being in this industry, 99% of the people come to us are officially under eating.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that calorically you're under eating. It could mean that simply the fuel that you're using, the foods that you're using, the balance in which you're using them in correlation to the demand of your day and on your physiology just don't balance.
Right. And it is a lot of the time calorically. But like Jeannie said, it's like maybe you're eating too much fruit and you need more dense foods or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not getting enough protein. Maybe you're not eating frequently. There's all these different things. And it really comes down to, are you meeting your metabolic demands? Because remember, stress is when the demands being placed on the human or the organism exceed what the organism can handle. So you can see if we don't have enough fuel in the tank, we have this increased demand in our life, which who doesn't nowadays, right? Everything we do becomes a stress. But if we build that metabolic reserve and resiliency, we have this demand in our life. Now we have money in the bank, we got money to spend, and we don't create debt, right? So that's really what we work with in the RTM method is how do we build that resiliency and metabolic reserve?
Right. I think what we have to understand when we're not eating enough is the body's going to adapt, right? It's always going to be trying to find that homeostatic balance. And in that, it's going to shut down the systems. It's going to quiet down the thyroid. It's going to suppress the thyroid. You're not going to be able to produce energy because there's not enough energy in the tank to support the demand that's already there. So everything goes into kind of a state of preservation.
I think the reason people get here is because, of course, habits and behaviors, we're taught to eat like this through our family and our childhood, but a lot of it is all wrapped up in a nice weight loss bow, or I don't want to gain weight bow, right? And the problem, fear. But you have to remember that fear in the system creates, let's say, a stress response 24/7. We've said this before. Don't stress over eating the chocolate cake because that creates more stress in the system than actually eating the chocolate cake. So we live in that state. It's like 24/7, we're physiologically stressed. So we want to make sure we're having fun on our journey, because why do it if we're not having fun? And we want to make sure that we go slow through this process when we start to eat food. And this is what usually holds people back. They're eating 2 meals a day, or they start eating at noon and they eat 3 or 4 meals a day, or they're doing fasting and eating within a window. And the second they start to eat a little more, they start gaining weight, which pushes them back to their old diet.
Yes, but I also want to say, because of this culture of weight loss or wanting to feel better, there's a jump from one diet to the next diet to the next diet. So, here's pro-metabolic eating. You need to be eating frequently. You need to be eating carbohydrates. Well, going back to what Josh was saying, if you're somebody who, again, may be under eating, then we suggest that you start with maybe one meal, the addition of one meal.
Or one snack. Or just balancing out your meals.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you get the idea. If you go from eating 1 or 2 meals a day to eating 6 meals a day every 2 to 3 hours, you will gain weight.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think that's an important piece, because our RTM method is not a diet. It's really based on human physiology. So that's why we don't believe like a diet really works for anyone. It's really based on our human physiology. How should we eat? And then we strategically help people really personalize it to meet their needs. So what is the first sign that you might be under eating?
Your weight is not moving.
Right.
Yes.
And this is common with a lot of people, right? Why? Because physiologically, we're chronically stressed. We're living in the middle of a war zone, and at the same time, we're trying to lose weight. It's not going to happen when you got bullets flying by your head. And a lot of us have been that way since childhood, or since young adulthood, or maybe in our teens and high school, we did a lot of dieting, or we took the birth control pill. The list goes on, right? We set the stage, we create the story for dysfunction, right? And we love to blame food when we go from 2 meals to 3 meals, or 2 meals to adding a snack, right? Remember, it's not the food. It's the system you're putting into that doesn't know how to regulate it because it's not being supported, right? So remember, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, So if your weight's not moving, that's because, again, there's a hierarchy happening. Your body's not prioritizing weight loss, it's prioritizing survival.
And that's the bottom line, right? So it's a sign, hey, maybe I do need to change what I'm doing, change how I'm living, change how I'm eating to create a better environment. I might have to go through a little bit of fluctuation. I might have to gain a little bit of weight, and it actually might be healthy weight to lose weight over time. The second sign you might be under eating is hair loss. Now, we're not saying this is the only reason you lose hair, but it's very common. Stress is the catalyst of almost anything, right? And when we're chronically stressed, you lose hair because you lose minerals and your hormones get thrown off. We don't have to get lost in that minutia, but that's what supports your hair growth. If you don't have those minerals, you're going to start losing your hair.
I think there's also, again, when you're not producing energy, you're not able to uptake oxygen. Oxygen's not able to get to those real outer places of your body, your skin, your hair, your nails. So you're going to start to see that hair loss. It's going to start to die off.
That's probably the most important point when you dive deep into this work and our RTM method. It's really about how do we get our cells to activate oxygen. That's it. Because if you can do that, you can produce copper-rich antioxidants. You can produce all these important enzymes, superoxide dismutase, cerulopil, all these things that help you create vitality in life. But if you can't activate oxygen, you're going to get 40% less oxygen to your tissues, your lungs, your heart, everything. So it's life. And if we can't do that, yes, of course, that is stress. Right? If you can't produce energy, you produce pro-oxidants, you produce inflammatory markers. That is stress. And of course, your body and your skin and your hair is going to suffer.
The third sign of undereating are cold hands, feet, and nose.
Or just always being cold.
Or always just being cold. Unable to retain body heat. Remember, when you eat, your body's supposed to be able to produce energy. So oftentimes when you're not eating enough, you're not converting energy. And that's going to, again, lead to being constantly feeling like you're cold or in a thermogenic state.
You're the person that when it's 60, 70 degrees out needs Uggs or a hat, or you're constantly cold where everyone else is really warm. And that's a sign of depletion. It's a sign that you are in energetic debt because you're not eating enough or you haven't eaten enough the past 10, 20, 30 years, right?
Or the stress in your life is very in great demand and you're not able to meet that.
It all comes down to thermogenesis, right? The cell, like I said, can you activate oxygen and produce energy, which is ATP? That is heat. When you light a fire, it produces heat. That is energy. Think of your cell, think of your body as a wood-burning stove. If you were to put little pieces of paper on it and little pieces of sticks throughout the day, would it produce a lot of heat? It would not. That is the concept we're trying to teach people. So if you start to eat, doesn't have to be a lot, it's just to meet what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat to meet your metabolic needs, which everyone is different, right? Because we have different demands and a different story. But if we're able to do that and produce energy, we produce heat. And you're going to store that energy in the liver. You're going to replenish your minerals. You're going to notice your hands, your extremities, your nose, your feet become warmer. Why? Because now the stress response goes down. You get blood flow to the periphery because adrenaline is being reduced, and you start feeling warmer over time. It's that simple, which is seen in body temperature and pulse.
Yes. So pay attention to what you eat and what makes you feel warm.
Huge point.
It's giving you a great indicator of what types of foods really support your system.
The fourth sign that you're under eating is you cannot poop. And this is common. We work with so many people who can't poop. They're not pooping every day. And of course, it doesn't feel good. It really affects their quality of life. Now, why does this happen? Well, remember, when you're chronically stressed, you're in fight or flight mode. You're in the sympathetic kind of state. You're running from a lion. Would you want to stop and poop if you're running from a lion? You would not, right?
Remember that hierarchy we spoke of earlier.
That's the simplicity of it. The depth of it is when you're chronically stressed, you're not producing, or you're producing, but you're not converting thyroid hormone, right? That inflammation blocks that conversion. Well, T3 helps to regulate gut mobility, and peristalsis, right? So if you don't have that energy because stress is in there, you can't kind of move things along. Plus, the simplicity is you're running from a lion, so you're not going to poop, right? So for a lot of people that can't, Of course, a lot of people go towards fiber supplements. They go towards supplements. Remember, that's the effect. You don't want to treat the effect. You want to look at the cause. And for a lot of people, they need to start eating more food. And for these people, using lighter foods like bone broth and eggs and whitefish and shellfish and cooked fruits usually help these people a lot.
The fifth and final sign that you are under eating is your inability to sleep. When your body does not have the energy that it needs to sustain or regulate your blood sugar, you're going to find that it's going to wake you from a deep sleep, essentially with the release of cortisol and adrenaline.
And that's really the simple reason of it all is you need energy for everything. We're energy beings, right? And even at rest, we're expending energy, just a little bit less, right? Because we're not as active. But the problem is, right, in the simple analogy we've used, and we used it a few seconds ago, is if you're running from a lion, right, and you're chronically stressed, you're going to go, let me sleep? No, because now you become food. So when you're in this state, especially at night, those peak levels of adrenaline are going to wake you up, right? And that's what's really happening. We've worked with so many people over the years that have come to us with, 5 to 10, 15 years of insomnia. And they have trouble sleeping. They can't fall asleep or they can't stay asleep, Or
they're typically waking up between 1 and 3, where there is that natural adrenaline peak.
Right.
But when your liver can't store that glycogen and you're getting into those hours where during the day, most of you can't regulate for 3 to 4 hours. So it's typically at about that 3 to 4 hour mark, the body's naturally sending that signal. It's almost like a double whammy, and it wakes you up from a deep sleep and unable to get back into that restful sleep.
It just comes back to that energy piece. If we meet our energy, we'll have if we meet our energy demands, we'll have the energy we need to do the things we need to do, even sleep. The problem is when we're in this state, now sleep becomes a stress, right? And a lot of us can't sleep, so we get up and go on our phone, we play with our computer, we watch a movie. That's the worst thing you could possibly do, right? But I think also going back, a lot of it has to do with just our life in general. A lot of people are staying up later, they're watching TV, so their bedtime routine is off. It really just comes down to health is about creating healthy habits and behaviors. And of course, making sure you're getting enough to meet your sleep needs is one of them, right? So, hopefully this video is making a little bit of sense in the sense of we need to start eating more, whether it's another snack or looking at the big gaps in our day, right? Or maybe moving our coffee around, or maybe eating more dense food and less bars, or getting more protein because we're not getting enough. There's many different scenarios. It's all personalized. But when we start to eat more, we start to store more energy and we can meet our body's energy demands. So now there's less stress in the system. Our hair stops falling out. We feel more vital. We can get more sleep. We start pooping naturally, and the list goes on. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. We'll see you later.